All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a game that I've been waiting for tonight. It is going to be SlayerS.MMA, previous MLG champion at Columbus, Ohio, boxer's protege, the ballistic Terran, as I like to call it. He drops everywhere. I call him the Marine Medvac abuser because he goes all over the map and he's dropping Marines all the time. He's going to be our Terran player at the top of Metalopolis, the blue Terran, and his opponent is going to be Complexity MVP's.DongRaeGu. It's going to be a Zerg versus Terran, and I am so excited for this matchup.
Now, both these players are perfect examples of why I love team leagues, winter-style team leagues, so much, because both these guys really got their start in terms of popularity by being the GSTL champions, you know, whether it be all-killing or knocking out high-profile players from various different teams and things like that, as they weren't really on the map until then, and obviously their tournament results since then have really spoken for themselves. But MMA versus DongRaeGu, two of the West's favorite Korean players, and I am stoked to see this. I know you're back in DongRaeGu, but I'm a Terran player, so I've got to go with my boy MMA here.
Actually, man, I'm kind of neutral in this game. I like both these guys. Yeah,
all right.
I've never met DongRaeGu before. I've met MMA. I've taken a couple pictures with him. So on a personal level, I'm kind of back in MMA. On a racial level, I'm kind of back in my buddy, my good Zerg brother, DongRaeGu. But at any rate, I'm going to be excited to see any of these players at Atlantic City. I hope they win. If they don't win, I hope they qualify in the next qualifier. I want to see them at Atlantic City or come to the open. They'll be at the open bracket, man. I mean, at the end of the day, they're coming to Atlantic City, and I am so stoked. One of these guys here is going to win this series. Who's it going to be? And honestly, when you think about it, both of them, I feel like, are on a very close level in terms of skill.
Yeah.
coDS, top tier, easily top 5 of their race in the world.
I believe
so. It's got to be one or the other.
Now, Chad will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe DongRaeGu, because he finished 3rd place at MLG Rally, does actually secure a coDS spot for himself because the other top 2 finishers were already coDS. Someone will have to correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe that that's the case.
I know that Korea, GSL, and MLG have a little partnership going on where they place the top 2 in the coDS, but does that apply if the top 2 players are already in coDS?
Well, yeah, they would just default it to the next.
Yeah,
to the next player, as long as they finish at least top 3 is what I believe it is. So,
okay.
Anyway, at the very least, MMA is coDS hairstyles alone. So the man has fantastic hair. I have to give MMA that credit for that, if nothing else. So. Looks like the gas actually came up after pool, so no quick speedlink build. It's just going to be 2 hatch with a few units to go ahead and defend against bunker pressure. There's 1 Marine that's making its way out, and 4 drones are actually pulled off for DongRaeGu, chasing this Marine down to the ends of the earth. And the farther that MMA gets away, actually the more economic damage he's doing, as these 5 drones are going to have to retreat.
Yeah, it looks like DongRaeGu was really worried about a 2 barracks pressure opening there from the Terran player, but doesn't look like that's what he was doing. He's actually throwing down 2 gases right now, getting that command center up. Might see a quick tech into Blue Flame Hellions or some other tech. And DongRaeGu losing a little bit of mining time for only chasing away a Marine.
Yeah, certainly. But he is able to have the knowledge that he securely has an expansion. No worries there. Looks like he is about to save up that 100 gas in just a second if he wants to put down that early circling speed, which I think he'll have to, given MMA's play style, especially with the Marine aggression, things like that. But he's not pulling himself off of gas, so we are going to see a pretty quick transition to tech after that. On the other hand, it looks like this SCV is just waiting for 100 gas, and we are going to see a factory. Yep, there it is.
It sucks a little bit that DongRaeGu was not able to get that Overlord to the left side of the map into that little crevice between the natural and the main. If you go over to the left, you'll see what I'm talking about right there. Yeah. That's always a good spot to leave an Overlord to check for scouting, or to check for buildings behind the mineral line, or to check for that expansion. But it looks like DongRaeGu wasn't able to get the Overlord there, so his scouting is actually denied by a considerable amount until he gets Slayer, until he gets Overlord speed or Overseers. But he is going for Roaches right now. DongRaeGu, could he be going for, he's opening Roaches, no doubt he's going to be able to deal with Hellions, but could he try to go for a bust through the front door? Some kind of a Roachling all-in is definitely possible.
Yeah, Roachling all-in is pretty good metagame against MMA, especially if it decides to lead with Roaches or stuff like that, because MMA is going to rely on pretty strong...
doing it.
Yeah, there's 6 Roaches coming up now, and Zergling speed is just about to finish. Creep is already moving out.
Definitely doing a Roachling all-in, man.
Uh-oh.
He has completely cut drone production. I like this. This is the style of Zerg play that I've been playing against Terrans, man. Yep. I open up with aggression against Terran. I do whatever damage I can, and it's not necessarily all in. I don't call it all in. You know why? Because you can drone behind the aggression after doing a lot of damage to them. And let's see how much damage you can do.
Here we go. The Roaches are going to lead. Let's see what he actually runs with behind. He was supply blocked for quite a while. So yeah, he's not going to see this come in, but the building placement is already pretty good. And but look, there's no units on the field.
DongRaeGu droning behind the Roachling, so it is not an all-in. That's why I hesitate to ever say a Zerg aggression in the early game is all-in, because it really isn't. And we have DongRaeGu now droning up. He just wants to exact as much damage as possible. The Hellions there, I believe, saw the Roaches.
I do too, yeah.
And the Marines are inside the bunker, but I think the Roaches are going to be enough to break through. Supply Depot raising up. Beautiful raise at the Supply Depot right here, but the bunker isn't going to go down. It is in the red. One more volley from the Roaches takes it out, and I think DongRaeGu is going to be able to do so much economic damage right here, killing off a bunch of SCVs. Gonna kill off more, and DongRaeGu doing exactly what he needed to do to justify the cost of this attack, and all the while droning up behind this.
Yeah, he was droning up behind this, and he managed to kill 3 workers so far. That's going to be a 4th down. It looks like MMA is going to have to run out with a lot more units to be able to put a stop to these Roaches, so the Roaches are so effective against unupgraded Marines and those Hellions. And here we go. DongRaeGu just continuing to pick off unit after unit. He did lose a few units himself, but he was able to expand behind this as well, so he's going to have that very, very nice number of workers, already 44, and he's droning up behind this once again, putting up a couple of Roaches for defense as well. It'll be on that very strong 3 base plus macro hatch production very soon.
This is what Zerg needs to start doing, man. Less QQ about Zerg always being macro and having to absorb damage from different locations and stuff like that. You can do this too, man. You can do the Roachling. It doesn't have to be all in. You can macro behind it. Look at the damage DongRaeGu has done. I mean, if we pull up the income tab, I would love to see who's ahead. It looks like DongRaeGu is ahead by a little bit, and honestly, he has established himself as on the map as a presence to be reckoned with. That being said, MMA is pushing out though.
Yes, MMA is actually making his way in with a pretty powerful push at this stage of the game, especially with the amount of damage that he received. But if DongRaeGu holds this off, even if he loses all of his attack units, as long as he doesn't take any economic damage, he's going to be in a really, really good spot. Looks like the Meng statue initially being targeted. Those Zerglings not going to overextend themselves. The Roaches are on creep, so catching up to those Marines for a little while. One Marine goes down, and just by MMA being forced away, DongRaeGu has actually secured himself a pretty nice win there because of the fact that he's able to establish this 3rd.
Honestly, MMA, they're not really pushing out to do damage. I think it's just pushing out to say, hey, you're not going to bully me around. Yeah. I'm gonna make myself known on this map. And if we look on the production tab, we can see that shields is coming up. The Marines actually never had stim. So MMA definitely, I don't think, was gearing up to make any kind of an attack happen to the point where he wanted to do damage. I think he just wanted to say, you're not going to bully me. I'm going to push out. I have just as good of StarCraft sense and know-how as you do, DongRaeGu. And I think he did that quite well. He didn't lose that many forces.
We do have a 3rd coming up for MMA, though, so that pressure did help him to establish it. Actually, when I made the earlier statement before that DongRaeGu won just by not having received any economic pressure, that's a little bit incorrect, and I apologize for that because I didn't notice this 3rd coming up for MMA at the time. With him establishing that 3rd, that actually puts him on equal economic footing at the very least, and of course, equal base Terran against equal base Zerg is never where you want to be as a Zerg player. Nonetheless, though, both players have revealed pretty well their unit compositions. It's going to be Ling, Bling, and Muta for DongRaeGu off a 3 base plus production hatch, so no real surprise there.
Ling, Bling, Muta, and Roach, actually.
Well, yeah, he'll have the Roaches if he wants to throw those in, but with the +1 melee coming up, well, he is actually researching Roach speed. I guess that's certainly a good upgrade to have in a pinch, but this will be primarily Ling, Bling, Muta composition.
Okay, it looks like MMA is pushing on now. The combat shields and stim have both finished, so those Marines are quite powerful. Is stim finished? Actually, I just want to make sure.
Let's go ahead and take a look.
No stim.
It hasn't even been started.
But tank siege mode has finished, so let's see if MMA can do some more damage with this attack. Looks like a couple Lings trying to catch off reinforcing units on the other side. They may be able to run into the 3rd here. The bunker not quite ready yet. The Lings could do some damage, but reinforcements arriving, and that should be able to repel the Zerglings pretty easily. But oh wow, MMA leaving all of his tanks unsieged or sieged up in the middle, completely exposed. Is DongRaeGu going to capitalize? DongRaeGu could kill off all these tanks right here and now, and he's going to do just that. A huge mistake by MMA.
Yep, he does lose a couple of roaches in the process, but certainly not anything
so worth
that
it,
was.
man.
Oh yeah, no. I was gonna just saying that he did lose a couple. No, so totally worth it. Do it 100 times out of 100. DongRaeGu with a nice little win there. MMA has taken a supply advantage though, because he's been sitting on his third base for quite a while, and DongRaeGu's been sent to his. Been only on 3 bases for a little while. He does finally have his 4th finish down at the 6 o'clock position, so we'll be able to reinforce with a little bit better production. We have 9 coming up at the same time.
Yeah, I saw DongRaeGu there camping 1,000 minerals and 1,000 gas. Is it going to be Mutas? Anyways, we have a big attack right here. Mutas not quite coming out yet, so this is a timing when DongRaeGu is actually a little bit weak because he's still waiting for those 10 Mutas to come out. Does he have Banelings on the field? He does have Baneling Nest. He should be making a lot of Banelings right now. You know, yeah, he a little vulnerable right there, but you know what? MMA has a lot of travel time to reach that 4th or the 3rd, and that should be enough for DongRaeGu to get his forces out.
I think MMA could have done some real damage there had he tried to push, because those. Well, I guess Stim wasn't done. No, I take that back again. I keep forgetting how late Stim timing is for MMA in this game. With Stim, I think he would have been able to crush through that roach wall behind the back of those. Sieged up tanks as well, but now with Banelings in position, with Mutas available to flank, I think that DongRaeGu is in a lot better position to receive the time to push.
This is going to be an insane battle here. The Marines now have combat shift and Stim, as you mentioned before. Oh my god, DongRaeGu is actually going to attack here. I don't know if this is the best
Stim's
spot,
not done.
but Stim is not done, and all those Marines getting obliterated. Great call right there, Cats. Stim was not done, but does DongRaeGu have enough to break through here? The roaches are going down. The last roach has fallen, and now the Marines can pick off the rest of the Mutas.
Looks like a few more Zerglings are being brought in, though. They are going to pick off the last couple of tanks. Reinforcements making their way in, but those are not sieged up at the moment. Unfortunately, all but 3 now of the Mutalisks did actually go down. Let's take a look. Apparently some more reinforcements coming in. A couple of Zerglings dealing with those quite effectively. Actually, a number of kills on them. 4 kills between the 2, but then they unceremoniously die to Blue Flame Hellions.
Oh my god, what a battle right there. Both players just trading straight up evenly. But in that regard, I think DongRaeGu comes out ahead because he's got another base. The Zerg can macro much faster, and this is DongRaeGu's opportunity to try to fly in with whatever he's got and do a little bit more damage and eke out a bit more of a small advantage over the Terran opponent.
There's turret cover at the main, but nowhere else at the moment for MMA. He does actually have a Ghost Academy coming up, so if he detects any sort of infestor play, I think Ghosts are very underutilized. As we saw actually in GSL the other day, Ghosts are pretty freaking good, yo. They were actually defeating July quite soundly, just with snipes alone, not even with any sort of EMPs against investors or anything like that. So snipes are really, really good, and I think that is underutilized at the moment.
Oh, Ghosts are amazing units. You don't even need to get Ghosts to deal with infestors. You can just get Ghosts for the mixture in your army. It's a good unit all around. So, no Ghost Academy quite yet, I don't think, but DongRaeGu is getting the infestation pit up, and there's a big engagement here. Mutalisks are clumped up, but it doesn't look like the Thor is targeting the clump, and all the Mutas are alive still. The Lynx flooding in there. Still a pack of Marines in the back being healed by the dropship, though, and I think the Mutalisks taking a couple of tank shots, flying out of there. Huge win right there for DongRaeGu, killing off the entire mech backbone. And he flies out with almost all of his Mutalisks intact.
Oh yeah, 100%. That was as good of an engagement as DongRaeGu could have hoped for. He caught all those units on siege. There wasn't a lot of Marine backbone when he initially rushed in with his units. That was absolutely fantastic for DongRaeGu, and he didn't have to waste needless Banelings against those mech forces. So beautiful play out of DongRaeGu. Looks like he's going to follow this up by moving to the left-hand side once again, this relatively undefended 3rd. And if MMA loses his economy here, this would be devastating.
Dude, cat's pajamas. DongRaeGu is so good, man. He is so good at this game, especially his ZVT. Almost impeccable. I think that's his best matchup. I've seen so many ZVTs in DongRaeGu before. He's going to kill off the Orbital Command. MMA, known as the Zerg Slayer, with his dropships all over the map, the high multitask, high APM, unable to capitalize on DongRaeGu, and all these tanks are going to go down as well. Oh, DongRaeGu is so good, man. Why isn't MMA playing that drop style, that heavy drop style that has worked out so well for him is beyond me.
He just hasn't been able to. He hasn't been able to invest in any sort of infrastructure with starports. DongRaeGu has kept him on his toes with great multitasking and always attacking at different points, flanking whenever necessary, and moving in with Mutalisks and poking and prodding and harassing and taking out tanks. There's just been no opportunity for MMA to go ahead and get that established. That's exactly what DongRaeGu wanted.
There is drop going on right there, but it gets deflected almost immediately by DongRaeGu. DongRaeGu is looking really good here, ladies ladies and gentlemen, on the verge of taking the first game away from MMA. MMA trying to drop down in the 6 o'clock position with his dropships, has 3 drops, finally trying to make use of his drops, but it may be too little too late. We have a huge clump of Lings getting ready to run in there, and no doubt the Banelings, the Metalists are just waiting on the north side. They are picking off the Marines. Oh my god, a lot of Metalists going down, but I think that DongRaeGu just has so many forces he can afford to lose Metalists at this point, and he completely overruns the Terran forces.
Yeah, he can. He didn't even lose his base down here at the 6 o'clock position, so, I mean, at the very least, if MMA had been able to pick off that expansion, maybe it would have been okay, but nope, didn't happen, and DongRaeGu is in an incredible spot. Up by 70-some-odd supply now. He's going to come in and re-deny this third here in the top left-hand corner.
Oh, my goodness.
And there's really nothing that MMA can do about it.
No, I don't know, man. There's an Ultralisk Cavern now coming up as well. DongRaeGu has banked 3,000 minerals, 600 gas. He can make a lot of Lings. He can make a couple Ultras as well. Adrenal Glands now on the way. That is a huge upgrade for the Speedlings at this point. I think they're getting the +3 weapons as well, at least +3 armor, and a huge attack here from DongRaeGu. Good split of the Marines, but I don't think it's going to be enough, and MMA is falling apart here. The machinery is not working too well. I think at the last second, MMA was able to group up enough Marines to drive away the Metalists, stimming his Marines here, stutter stepping, getting the Metalists out of the way, and I think he was able to hold that expansion just barely. But my goodness, he's been suffering losses after losses, and at the end of the day, I think DongRaeGu is going to take this game.
Breathe, HT, breathe. It's been exciting so far, though. Has been a pretty great game. DongRaeGu adding to those Muta forces once again. Just really... MMA is being forced to play such a defensive game right now. He can't even get that great drop play that you were talking about before going. Look at this. Another dropship does go down right away. DongRaeGu picks on off with that medevac as he had this circling in position to go ahead and look for that. Unbelievable play. We also have 5 Ultralisks coming up at the same time that there's a lot of Banelings, and if he's able to get those Banelings in here into the economy line at the gold, I think that alone is going to force him out of the game. MMA trying to rally his forces, trying to prevent this creep spread, actually trading pretty cost effectively with the Mutas there for a little while, but certainly has a lot of catch-up work to do.
I a lot of catch-up work is right now. MMA right now is facing down a very big army. The 5 Ultras have arrived now. That has got to be the nail in the coffin, man. I don't see any forwards out for MMA. Ultras are just going to rip through everything. Mutalist clumping up doesn't really even matter. There are 2 ghosts in the background. Those ghosts may be able to hold the position. Is that a PF at the goal?
Yes, it is.
It is a PF. That's going to help immensely to hold this attack off. All the Banelings actually going down, not able to hit the Marines on their marker. And, whoa, MMA actually holds against the Ultralist tech switch. Unbelievable. And maybe DongRaeGu is slipping a little bit. MMA holding on just barely.
Yeah, he holds on just barely. Actually, he got as good of an engagement as he could hope for right here because all those Ultralists were clumped up against the lone siege tank that was sitting down here, and siege tanks were raining down splash fire for quite a while. So MMA actually had about as good of an engagement as he could hope for. It worked out pretty well for him. But even with that, because he has been sent down to this number of bases for so long, it's going to be very difficult for him to reproduce his force as fast as DongRaeGu can.
There is a nuclear missile in production from MMA. Getting a little crazy right here. I honestly don't think MMA's out of it yet. That last battle definitely went in the favor of MMA. MMA may have a chance now to get back into this, but there's a lot of Lings flying around the map here. That's a good number of Lings. No Banelings at all, but maybe enough to take out these Marines. It's going to be close. The Marines have all been spreaded and surrounded by the Lings. All the Lings going down. Good stutter step micro from MMA. And DongRaeGu just threw away about 1,000 or maybe 2,000 worth minerals, just not doing too much damage at all. But the real question here is that nuclear missile.
He's remaxing on Ultras as well, so going to put all of his money into that. He already
Ultra Baneling is really good, man.
It is.
It's really good.
Ultra Infestor is even better. And we have a couple of Infestors coming up now with Fungal Growth to pin down a number of forces. He's going to be in a great spot. And DongRaeGu denying the mining over at the 10 o'clock position. Beautiful job there. He's going to lose all of those SCVs. He's bringing in a few units to go ahead and drive those units away. And the Mutalists will have to retreat, but not before the damage was done.
MMA is actually getting back in this game. I can't believe it. We do have something moving out across into the main. It is a dropship. Is there a ghost in there? No ghost, so no nuke ready to launch quite yet. But 4 Marauders definitely can pick off a key production building. But as the Marauders land, 2 Ultralists pop up and say, "What's up, bro?" They're going to drive those 4 Marauders away. And we do have a big engagement. Sup, sons? Hey, here comes the Ultra Baneling comp. And I'm telling you, man, Ultra Baneling really good. I've been using this a lot against Terran balls. Banelings go after the infantry. Ultra takes out the tanks. Boom, done deal.
That sounded dirty, but I won't comment on it, as the Ultralists are going to make their way over here to the 10 o'clock position, and this planetary fortress is in danger, and if MMA pulls his forces out of position, Mutas are going to be able to swoop in and do some pretty good damage, even with the amount of missile turrets that are there, depending on how many that DongRaeGu has in the air.
Yep. Oh my goodness, all the SCVs going down. However, will the Ultras and everything go down without taking any more kills? It looks like they do, so, you know, I think that definitely hurts MMA a little bit right there. So the favor swinging a little bit into DongRaeGu's side, but DongRaeGu did lose his entire army, so it's not exactly a horrible loss for MMA. He did get a little bit out of that.
Yeah, certainly. He's going to have to reestablish that base as soon as possible, though. Taking a look, oh, there's our cloaked ghost making their way down, and the nuke is finished.
And there's a Nidus beam construction from DongRaeGu. This game is getting absolutely insane. We're going to have Nidus networks. We're going to have nuclear missiles falling in the next couple of seconds. A ghost is making its way down to the 6 o'clock position. It is cloaked. It's ready to launch a nuclear missile. Is DongRaeGu prepared for the nuke?
We'll find out, because the one thing that MMA has going for him, if he's able to establish these bases on the left-hand side for a pretty good period of time, there is the nuke. If he is able to establish those bases for any length of time, he's actually going to be able to starve DongRaeGu out of the game because of the length of time that DongRaeGu has been on these bases. That nuke is about to land.
DongRaeGu is way too preoccupied with the battle in the middle of the map, and he loses so many drones at the goal at the southern expansion, and he loses the gold at the same time as well. But all the Ultras running in. That is so many Ultras. Look at the fungal growth of those Marines. Wow, DongRaeGu takes a nuke in the face, but he kills off and obliterates the entire Terran army, so I still don't know who's ahead right now, but DongRaeGu definitely taking a huge hit, losing the gold and the 6 o'clock.
That is so many Ultras, though, man. I look like a little kid in a candy store with the expression on my face right now. This is such a good game of StarCraft. DongRaeGu is actually going to do pretty poorly against the amount of Marauders that are on the field. It's a pretty good tech switch from MMA. He's going to be able to neutralize a lot of those units. His PF is not quite finished. We also have a counterattack as Zergling's running into MMA's base, and all those units are running by because he's preoccupied with the amount of Ultras that are down here at the left-hand side, and there are just too many Ultras. The Marauders are trying to kite at the moment, but the Ultralists have already done their damage. Let's actually take a look at drop down.
The Ultralisk Cavern has gone down,
but not before 5 more Ultralists were started. Also, the spawning pool was taken out. So at the same time, we have a bunch of Zerglings that are running in here, taking out factories, taking out tech labs. Oh my god, this game is getting crazy.
This game is getting insane right now, Cats. You couldn't say it any better. I mean, the Nidus network I don't think was even used. It doesn't even need to because the wings have run us right into the main. The Marauder dropped right into the main of the Zerg, though, proving to work wonders, killing off almost a Baneling nest right there. That could have been huge. But he did take out the spawning pool and the Ultralisk Cavern, certainly going to slow down the production of DongRaeGu by quite some time. And we have yet another dropship here. MMA now moving into that Marine Medvac abuse style. That's why he's called MMA. And he's going to go right into the 6 o'clock with another army of M&M. Is he going to be able to take out the hatchery? It is certainly in the red, and the hatchery, a transfuse goes out. Another transfuse. Is it going to be able to save the hatchery? Not quite. This game is just realistic, man. And I don't know who's going to come out ahead. DongRaeGu is falling behind in supply. MMA unbelievably has been able to catch up.
Yeah, he's got a PF here over at the 9 o'clock position, and that is critical because, like I was mentioning before, DongRaeGu is going to get starved out of this game if he can't establish, or if he can't find a way to deny the bases out of MMA, because he has been mining off these bases for so much longer. Let's actually take a look, and drop goes down, takes out the Baneling nest, another one being immediately started for DongRaeGu. These, got it, and faster falls as well, in addition to a couple of links. That was a very, very good drop out of MMA. He is still reproducing units like mad and producing 3 command centers at the same time.
MMA is actually pulling ahead right now. I have to say, MMA definitely coming back in this game with some impeccable late-game strategy and decision-making, has actually outplayed DongRaeGu, despite the fact that DongRaeGu was so close to winning the first game. I can't believe what I'm seeing. And here comes the Banelings, but Banelings aren't really that good against Marauders. When the Terran player makes that switch into mass Marauders, it's time to switch into Broodlords, and I don't know why DongRaeGu hasn't made that switch into Broodlords quite yet. He's investing a lot of gas into Infestors and Ultras. I mean, it's still a good composition. Infestor Ultra works pretty well against Marauder because you can prevent the kiting of the Marauders, and Ultras do a lot of damage to Marauders as well. So, very, very interesting game right now.
Fungal went down on a few units that are being dropped there for MMA, but even with that, DongRaeGu had a little bit of miscontrol and ran some Banelings into that, so that drop was actually entirely not terrible. I mean, it actually ended up doing some damage. High-sec auto-tracking and Terran building armor are being researched at the moment because why not? Certainly.
Yes, get additional range. It's pretty good stuff.
And they're going to be pretty strong with the additional +2 armor, but here comes DongRaeGu making his way into the Planetary Fortress expansion. Actually taking a look at the units tab, looks like MMA is ahead in workers. That is going to affect his army supply just a little bit. Maybe not enough to make a difference. There are certainly a ton of medevacs.
Many medvacs out right now, and that's actually bad. Those medvacs aren't really that great in this situation. He needs more of that supply supply and gas invested into real units on the ground, and the mass amount of medvacs may end up hurting MMA here. He's deciding not to engage the Ultra Army. I don't blame him right there. That's a very scary force, especially with the Infestors to boot. And he's going to try to go for a snipe here, but the Infestors come in, launching a key fungal. A lot of fungals on the ramp, and I think DongRaeGu, just like that, maybe swinging the tide back into his favor.
Not only did he just swing the tide in his favor, I think he just won the game with those fungals. I think those were ridiculously good fungals. DongRaeGu, what a freaking boss you are. Let's see what MMA is able to do to try and come back from this. He is mining off of 2.5 bases, basically.
Why is DongRaeGu attacking?
I don't know.
There we are. He is moving out now.
Okay, here we go. So DongRaeGu is going to make his way up. He has sacked a few drones to go ahead, or he's not reproduced drones, I should say. He has just gone ahead and produced as big of an army as is humanly possible. He's going to go after this command center just before it finishes. It gets canceled. No problems there. 2 more command centers being lifted off for MMA, and it looks like he may decide to swing himself in. At the same time, MMA is actually moving down to the bottom right. There's a lot of bailing sitting there, and with the fungal, those file forces are cleaned up.
MMA is running out of gas right now, ladies and gentlemen. That last attack against all those infestors worked beautifully for DongRaeGu, and now MMA right in the production facility, spawning a bunch of infested Terran, making a new infested Terran colony in the Terran main, and DongRaeGu now in a lot of trouble. A couple tanks still inside the main. Where did those guys come from? But that's not going to be enough. And DongRaeGu coming back. He looked like, for a second, he was in trouble there, but he was able to pull back in this game with a beautiful Ultra Infestor Baining combination.
And MMA lifts!
Beautifully. MMA lifts off. It could be it, man.
The classic Terran move. And all the buildings getting lifted off. It looks like he's trying to establish a defensive position over here at the left-hand side. He's putting up a lot of barracks. He also is turning this into a planetary fortress. So defensive planetary fortress sitting down. It looks like he's going to make another one here on the left-hand side. So he's going to try and rally himself against all the forces of DongRaeGu because, well, actually, DRG's not really mining all that much. His economic rate is not incredible. MMA's still in an advantage there, but he's down by 100 supply. He has no standing army to speak of. It would be a miracle if MMA was able to take this game.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all that needs to be said, indeed.
MMA, but at the same time, this game was so back and forth. At the beginning, DongRaeGu looked like he was ahead by miles and miles. MMA coming back in that game was a miracle. Yes. And then DongRaeGu now coming back, a miracle, man. Because, well, maybe not as much of a miracle because it was really close, but it was certainly a game to remember.
Dude. Fungals are pretty good, yo.
Ultra Infestor Baneling is a very powerful combination. I mean, I know Ultras alone, they get a lot of flack for not being the greatest unit, and Broodlords may be considered quote-unquote better, but I swear to you, Ultras with Infestors and Banelings are a very powerful composition, and we just saw MMA make it work.
And there are 10 supply depots coming down because he is supply capped. He was trying to get out whatever units he could to prepare for this attack. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. Here comes DongRaeGu. He's going to push his way in. There are no units out. Looks like there is a nuke coming, or that's being constructed. If he was able to nuke this force right here, maybe he could find a prayer back in, but it doesn't matter. DongRaeGu spitting up some infested.
I love the PF on the high ground and on the low ground. He's just got PFs and bunkers everywhere, trying to hold things down, but I think that may be the GG.
There it is. Looks like a single crying tear. Wow. Unbelievable. Very well played by DongRaeGu. That was absolutely stellar. You know, I'm a little surprised he didn't hold his lead as much as he should have. I think he should have transitioned into Broodlords earlier, like you were mentioning before. He didn't do that, so he did allow MMA back into the game, but it didn't matter. There it is. It's going to be the GG. I love like MMA sitting in here and allowing all of his units to be destroyed.
He's waiting, he's waiting for the nuke, actually, is what he's waiting for. Yeah. No, it doesn't matter. So he could go ahead and GG. Don't go anywhere, guys. That was just the first game of this series. We still have game 2, game 3 of this series coming up. This is the one I was most excited about. MMA, DongRaeGu. Don't go anywhere.